This is a Yin style yoga class that's particularly focused on the back. You can make this class any length that you want. There are 11 poses. You want to hold each pose 3 to 5 minutes, so 33, 44, 55 minutes. I like to take some time at the beginning of class though to just find a comfortable spot and focus on your breath. In Yin Yoga, breathe deeply in through your nose, filling up your entire torso, and exhale however you want, through your nose or through your mouth. Just let it all go completely. So taking 4 to 5 minutes at the beginning of class to find your breath, to focus on your breath, because we're going to come into some long sustained holds. And Jenny's not going to walk through and hold them the length of time. You would want to pause your video, and depending on your time frame, hold the poses for 3 to 5 minutes. So after she spends some time focusing on her breath, she's going to come into her first pose. It's the only one where you're standing up. So she's going to come gently and slowly, always transitioning slowly to a standing position with her feet about hip width apart. And she's going to dangle forward. Her knees are soft. There are lots of different ways you can take this. Now, if you're pretty tight in the hamstrings and you can't come close to reaching the ground, you can take blocks underneath your hands, resting the blocks there, your hands on the blocks. The important part here is that you're opening up the back of your body, your hamstrings, your calves, but you're decompressing your spine here, letting your head hang heavy. You can move your neck, you can keep it moving. You want to come to a place where you can hold the poses. You're not entirely comfortable, but you're not in pain. But if you want to keep moving your neck, that's good. Just resisting the urge to pop out of the pose when you get bored, or when your legs get a little bit tired, or your back gets a little bit tired. So again, you would hold this for 3 to 5 minutes, this dangling pose. And as you transition out, moving slowly, maybe rolling to a standing position, keeping those knees soft so that you don't get dizzy. I'm going to always counter the poses however it feels good to counter the poses. Maybe take a breath in and kind of stretch. Just coming out of that however you'd like. Good. So the next pose is going to be butterfly. Having a seat, soles of your feet together, knees apart. You can always sit on a blanket if you need to elevate your hips or soften that a little bit. It's a great option. So there are lots of ways you can do butterfly. Your heels can be really close, like hers are to her body, and she's going to get more into her hip flexors this way. She can lean forward. Her elbows might meet her knees. She can come all the way forward. Now, lots of people can't really do that, go quite that far down. So she's going to sit back up. Another option, press your feet maybe halfway to straight. Good. Take your hands underneath your ankles and just round forward into that pose. There's also a pose called tortoise. You can tuck your arms behind you. She kind of wraps them underneath her hamstrings. She rests her head on her feet. Good. And again, you're holding these poses 3 to 5 minutes. One more version or option for this, sitting back up. If her hips are really open, which hers are, you can take a block between your feet to separate them even further, and then come into your butterfly pose. Good. So again, transitioning out however you want. It feels good sometimes to sit up, to plant your feet, knees to the ceiling, and windshield wiper them back and forth as you transition out of that butterfly. It may not seem like it's much of a hip opening until you hold it for 5 minutes and then you really feel it. The next pose is called caterpillar. It's basically a pike. So you can keep that blanket under your hips if you want to keep them elevated. Legs can be together or slightly apart. And in this one, you just get to round forward over your legs. Now, if your hamstrings are really tight, that blanket will be helpful. If you don't need it, you can remove it, not sit on it. A strap is a great option for this one too, or you can use a towel at home or a scarf or whatever you have. Put it around your feet like you're standing on it. Not to make everything tense, but to use your arms just a little bit to take some pressure off your legs, and you can fold deeper. Another option, if you're pretty flexible through your hamstrings like she is, you can take a block on the bottom of your feet like you're standing on it and reach around that block for that block. So the reason we hold these poses 3 to 5 minutes and like staying in this seated forward fold, this caterpillar, it allows the big muscles to get out of the way. You get into the connective tissue, into the fascia. It actually increases mobility and flexibility. Yin yoga is a great yoga practice for everyone. Every body needs it. Whether you're very, very active or you've lost mobility due to age, it's a great, great option. So the next one, she's going to release from this. A good way to come out of this is to bend your knees, slide your hands under your knees, and kind of sit back into your back, because that is, and you feel that in your back when you're seated, or press forward, press your chest forward, just moving however you like to transition out of it. Good. The next pose is going to be just a seated spinal twist. So her right leg is going to be straight or bent. Her left leg crosses over the right. So if it's not comfortable to keep that right leg tucked in, you can straighten it out and do a half version. Good. So you're going to lengthen through your spine, sit up really tall, and then take that right elbow outside of your left knee and twist. So you don't want to sink into that. You want to lengthen and press. Now if her right leg was bent, she could take her right hand to her foot. That's a good place to hold on to. And you're just holding that twist, trying to keep your hips pressing down, twisting just your torso, getting into that back. And again, holding these 3 to 5 minutes. And the release from this one, the counter pose, is actually the next pose. So she untwists and takes her top leg and tucks it behind. So this is a stretch for your left quad. Your right leg can stay bent or be straight. And you're going to start to lean back, stretching through that quad. Now, the idea is that you feel this in your quad, also in your back. If you want to lay completely down, now that doesn't work for everyone. So let's say she's doing that, but her knee pops up. That's completely fine. Focus is your left quadricep. Your right leg can be bent like hers is. It can be in a Z shape, drop down. It can be straightened out. And if you have to come into this by lying down first and then tucking your left leg in, that's completely fine. If none of those work for you and it's too much pressure on your knee, flip on your belly and pull your heel toward the outside of your hip to stretch through your quad that way. It's another option. You can relax your upper body there. Good. So again, holding those 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then you would do the opposite side. But we're going to flow right through that. Switch sides, make yourself even. Your next pose is called Sphinx pose. So your elbows come underneath your shoulders and you press into your forearms here. Everything from your rib cage down, try to relax it. So a lot of times when we do this, our glutes squeeze. Now if it hurts your back, you can squeeze your glutes a little, take some pressure off. But Sphinx pose, you're pressing into those forearms, really lengthening through everything from your ribs up. I like to drop my chin to my chest here, but that may be too much pressure on your neck. I even like to keep my head moving side to side, ear to shoulder, and switching. And in Sphinx, if you can use a little more compression, flex your feet, pull your heels to your butt cheeks. And you can do this if you're at home and put your shins against a wall, kind of holding them there. That's a great option. And if you can use more for your back, take your legs back straight, press your arms straight, walk your hands closer to your hips, fingers flare out for seal pose. Again, trying to relax everything from your rib cage down. That one's a little more intense. It's hard to hold that for 5 minutes for sure. And slowly lowering back onto your belly. And your counter pose for this, because that was a big arch in your back, is to slowly, gently go back to child's pose. Maybe pausing at tabletop, knees wide or close together, and sitting back on your heels. This is just our counter pose. It's not our next pose. Spend as long as you need to in the counter poses though. Our next pose is melting heart. You're gonna keep lift your hips up, kind of walk those arms forward, and then sink your forearms, your chest, your chin to the mat. It's also known as puppy. So think about a puppy stretching, its tail is in the air. If it bothers you to have your chin down like that, you can turn your head sideways. If that feels better. Some people can go face straight down to the mat. I feel like I'm suffocating when I do that. But you try to really sink into this. You feel that release both in your lower back and in your chest and your shoulders, opening up. Good, and again, holding that as long as you need, coming out of it, probably just by sitting back in child's pose, kind of reconnecting there. Always focused on those long, deep breaths, sending your breath wherever you feel the tension in your body. And you're going to make your way from here onto your back. Good. And the last two poses are just final twists. Lots of options. You could take your right knee to your chest and just cross it over across your body, bringing it down and opening up, looking towards your right hand. That's one option. Or you can bring both knees into your chest and take them to that left side of your body, looking away. Depending on how high your knees are, you can pull your knees really close to your chest if that feels better. Now, this final twist should really feel pretty good, whereas all the other poses, you feel a little bit of tension. This should feel pretty good. Or a third option, bringing your knees back to center, you can cross your right leg over your left, even hooking your calf as you drop everything over to the left side. Sometimes you have to shift your hips right before you can do that. This is a twisted root spinal twist. Again, giving yourself the time to hold this 3 to 5 minutes, and then she'll gently release that, switch sides, do the same thing on the other side, and then ultimately making your way to a Shavasana. Final relaxation, spending some time just being, just appreciating the work that you did for your body.